Hello, what's going on, guys? Jesus TV back with another video. My goodness, my room is like a fucking sauna. But we have The Last of Us. We have the 7th episode, Left Behind. Probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire series so far. But yeah, episode 7 of The Last of Us begins with a blood trail leading straight into an abandoned house where Joel is being tended to by Ellie. We then skip back in time to see Ellie's backstory, so we kind of see that she's like tending to Joel, and then we go back into time and we see how Ellie got to where she is, and that's interesting because I didn't play the game, so I have no idea where she came from, how she came to be, all this type of stuff, you know. So, she gets bullied, she gets her Walkman slapped out of her hand, she gives a girl 15 stitches, and then in the middle of the night, Ellie's friend Riley sneaks in through the window and confronts her, talking about how she became a firefly, how she snuck out, joined the resistance, all that type of stuff. Evading Fedra agents, Ellie and Riley end up finding some alcohol and they drink together, so they venture out, they're going to a shopping mall. And Ellie soon figures out that this is like a Firefly post. It's not like some sort of abandoned mall in the middle of nowhere that Riley just goes to and has fun and kind of retreats to. It's genuinely, they posted her there, and she's now trying to get Ellie to go with her because she realizes she has to leave this QZ and go somewhere else. The pair eventually end up in the old abandoned mall, right? So she takes her there. There's a bunch of crazy stuff. The lights turn on, and yeah, the pair have a great time doing photos in the booth, playing on the carousel, and messing about in the arcade, playing several rounds of Mortal Kombat 2. Ellie is very cultured. She likes comics. She likes video games. So she's having the time of her life. They're going to the arcade. They're playing on the carousel. There's 5 wonders apparently in the mall, and as the episode goes on, we see more and more of them. And Ellie's new to these things. She doesn't get to ride a carousel. She doesn't get to play video games, She's stuck in this boarding school type of thing. Fedra school, I guess, is what they call it. Apparently Riley has been living in the mall for a while, given there's a sleeping bag and a whole bunch of gear in the back, and this is kind of the point in the episode where Ellie's like, oh, you've been living here, pretty much. Yeah, you've been living here. The good mood soon turns sour when Ellie finds a whole bunch of homemade grenades in the back. It's here that Ellie realizes that Riley's been lying to her, and that this isn't just a place you go to and have fun. This is a Firefly outpost. This is pretty much, she's going to be on the lookout. She's going to try to scout some things out. Riley reveals that she was actually posted to the mall by the Fireflies, but I mean, it's still a fun time. Even when you learn that news, it's come on, Ellie, have a little bit of fun there. It's only a temporary spot, though, as she's been being carted off to a posting in the Atlanta QZ in the morning, so she has to leave in the morning and go. I'm not sure where they're at. Did it say where they were at? I don't remember. It's not really that important to the storyline. The whole point is that Riley has to move, and she has to go to the Atlanta QZ, and she's going to be leaving Ellie, and the whole point of them coming to this mall so she can kind of recruit her, which is kind of messed up, but at the same time, it's very understandable. Riley wants Ellie to join her, though, as this is her last night in Boston. Oh yeah, Boston, of course. I should have known that. This whole charade at the mall was Riley's way of saying goodbye, and maybe even her way of persuading Ellie to come with her, her plan was just to break this harsh news and to have Ellie go with her. And obviously, that did. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Ooh. Ellie and Riley end up dancing around on countertops with masks on, realizing this is their last night together. They need to kind of cherish it. This eventually leads to the pair kissing and solidifying their feelings for one another. And Ellie, throughout their journey through the mall, you can kind of tell based on her body language, based on how she's looking at Riley, that she has a crush on this girl. She wants to start a relationship with her, of course, and they show feelings towards each other. However, we suddenly see something that's absolutely shocking. That's right, one of the infected. We saw it lingering around throughout the episode. There's obviously that little dramatic irony that the show creators included. It's a rare sight in this show, I know, but it comes at Riley and Ellie, leading to Ellie stabbing it in the head, and that's kind of like one of the flaws of the show. That's one of the things that people don't like that much about this show, is that the infected aren't a factor. Again, we're kind of taking a break from The Walking Dead, but I kind of compare this to The Walking Dead because that's another show where the infected's really not a factor anymore. It's kind of just like a civil war going on in that show at this point. Unfortunately, Ellie ends up bitten as a result, while Riley too has a scratch across her hand, but I don't know if at this time Riley knew that she was immune to it, but obviously Riley's going to die, so that's how she lost like one of her best friends. It's very sad. As the pair weigh up their options and decide what to do, we cut back to the present. Like, what should we do? And Ellie and Riley are like, let's just live our life out together and see how long we can go. Ellie stitches up Joel and does everything she can to help him. However, he's fading and needs antibiotics, so that's kind of like the cliffhanger going into the next episode. I know this review isn't that long. The plot is pretty concise. It kind of just focuses on them being in the mall the whole time, and obviously in the background, Joel is being treated. While I appreciate the desire to adapt the Left Behind DLC and flesh out the story for Ellie a little more, it also highlights one of the biggest problems with this show, the pacing. It also doesn't help that in our show about the infected, we've seen the clickers once. Had a cameo appearance. Holy shit. Sorry about that snot bubble. Had a cameo appearance from one bloater and have rare instances of the infected dotted across maybe 3 of the 7 episodes so far. That's not a good ratio. That's less than half. That doesn't exactly ratchet up the tension or suspense, and even shows like The Walking Dead balance its drama with zombie action. Of course, all the way up until like season 6, where they're like, okay, fuck it, let's just make it a man-on-man war, instead of even focusing on the fact that we have an apocalypse looming in the air. The trouble is, the game isn't anything like this laborious TV adaptation, managing to masterfully blend action, drama, and strong themes. By comparison, the show feels disjointed with 2 filler episodes that could be taken out completely and not lose anything. I agree that Ken is a filler episode, but I actually kind of liked this episode. Maybe the true video game fans didn't like it because it has a lot of filler in it. I mean, that's obviously like that's kind of like the big fault of the episode, but I like it. I think it was cool to see where Ellie came from. Don't get me wrong, episode 3 was a great chapter with plenty to like, but episode 7 by comparison has very little to it. Sure, we see Ellie and Riley hang out for 50 minutes discussing the pros and cons of the Fireflies, but beyond that, there's just nothing to this chapter at all. In fact, compared to other shows in the post-apocalyptic field, The Last of Us wouldn't even make a top 5 in the field right now. That's kind of a bold statement, but we'll have to wait and see if the remaining episodes can stick the landing. We'll see how the season ends. I think there's 9 episodes, so we have 2 more episodes in the season. I kind of liked this episode. I don't think it was great. I would say my favorite episode is probably Endure and Survive. For sure. The one with them meeting Sam and Henry, yeah. I think that was my favorite. Long Time was a pretty good episode as well. But, yeah, I don't think this show's terrible. I think it should be a top 5 post-apocalyptic. I don't know what else it would be. I mean, The Walking Dead's the only other post-apocalyptic show I've seen. What would you even count as that? I don't know. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. It's always GZTV giving you guys the best TV shows, reviewing them on the channel, doing all that stuff. We have Outer Banks to talk about next, where